Ugh. Oh,
What's wrong?
I'm having a nightmare. I've been online trying to find a car for us for winter, and it's just, with the prices so high, it's just been a nightmare.
Don't have nightmares, babe. I've already gone to Dream Motors to find that dream car for us.
In the market for a pre-owned vehicle? Having nightmares finding your ride? Call Dream Motors today, your no-pressure dealership.
Show me something.
Did you get married again?
Did you know I'm regular?
We knew you didn't married your death.
It's okay, sure.
Anybody want to buy a vacuum cleaner and encyclopedia? I'm the guy.
You can push that and it'll project it into your room. Like a great lecture. It is the coolest thing ever. We're okay with it. Yeah, it was fun.
Sorry.
Are we going?
We were talking sharks.
Okay. Start the regular meeting of the City Council to order for November 3rd, 2021. Dan, lead us in a pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item, minutes. Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved by Dan, seconded by Bill. Discussion. Don, hands online?
Yes, I am.
Call for the question.
Question's been called for to approve the October 20th, 2021 regular meeting minutes of the City Council. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. They take that as unanimous. Okay. Next item we have on here is the engineer for the, well, I don't even know the name, West Side Water. Did you come up with that, or?
Sure.
Okay, West Side Water report. Kevin, John, Val.
All right, good evening.
Oh, you
Good
might
to see you
have-
all.
Is it on?
Is it on?
Now, look on the bottom, there should be a blue, button.
That one's on the side.
That one's
Or side.
We'll find it here.
And you push the button and it'll turn yellow. So just hold the button in, when it turns yellow, you're gone, you're going.
Now we're set. Now you can hear that? All right, very good. Well, happy post-election to everybody. It's always good to have that behind us.
Yes.
So, quick update, Kevin Johnson with Dow, project manager for your water project. We're now August, September, October, just over 3 months into a 6-month construction duration for the project. Schedule 2 is the water main replacement work downtown Dillon on Idaho and Washington. That part of the project has stopped with the exception of the paving. They got to Bannock Street, working to the north from Orr Street. They could have kept going. The reason they stopped is they were concerned about being able to get any more trench paved before the end of the year. So they could have got a couple more blocks in weather-wise, even with the temporary water, but they didn't feel like they could get it paved. So they quit at Bannock. They're trying to get buttoned up with the paving. They got a couple blocks done today of paving on Washington Street. There's 2 more blocks to prep and then pave on the main line. And then they go back and they'll do the service lines, the trenches that go out to each individual house. So they're trying to get the main line done, concerned about weather stopping them and not having that main line done. So that's the plan. Weather is still looking favorable as it gets this time of year. Pretty much a gift the last couple weeks. Last October was below 0 by this time already. Then it warmed up and we had an Indian summer for November, December. But so they are, all the water mains that is in the ground is all tested, chlorinated, pressure back online. And they will pick that up as soon as the weather allows in the spring. Schedule 1, the water transmission main, they are making good progress now. They started in the fairgrounds just 2 weeks ago, have laid up to this side of the interstate, continued on the other side of the interstate, and in the last 3 days they've put in about 1,000 feet. There's a total of about 7,800 feet total on that transmission main. And amazingly enough, you know, we really expected to stick a bucket in the ground over there and be wet up to your knees. And that has not been the case. They actually have 7-foot deep trenches over there with 1 inch of water in the bottom. It's just, I'm baffled. But we'll take it. That beats the alternative of swimming around over there and spending weeks dewatering. Just this afternoon, they hit a little more gravel and got a little more water, but conditions could not be better for installing that pipeline right now. So we really expected just a quagmire out there, but it's going really well. It's going to go really fast if they don't have to spend a lot of time, you know, dewatering ahead of when they construct the trenches. So it's going to go pretty quick. They're going to do a couple more days of trenching and then back up and clean up behind them and get it fully backfilled and then proceed. So the other major work elements that haven't started, that we were really hoping would be done by now, is the 3 horizontal jack and bores under the interstate, under Pigtail Creek, and under the Beaverhead River. They're not scheduled to be here, the subcontractor, until November 15th, Monday. I think that's a Monday. So they're expecting still to take them about a month to do those 3 bores. So it'll about line up with getting the pipe work in, but then they got to back up and get the pipe through the casings, flush the pane, flush the pipeline, chlorinate the pipeline, pressure test it in 3 major segments all the way up to where it ties in on the other side of the river. So each time they have to do that, that takes about 3 days out of the schedule, because you have to do 2 back T samples 24 hours apart before it's fully accepted. So that eats up 3 or 4 days of time, not necessarily, you know, if you're laying pipe elsewhere, it's not eating that time, but in general, you gotta have a couple weeks in the plan to do all that testing, assuming it passes the first time, drum problems, pressurizing, and so on. So otherwise, that's all good news. It's going pretty well. Overall, the project is probably behind schedule. You know, we had hoped to start, you know, about May 1st and be done in November. They couldn't start till the end of July. They couldn't even get materials, so that has resulted in some efficiency losses. But their biggest challenge has been manpower. Honestly, it's they just don't have enough guys. They need to be running. They could be running multiple crews. They could have been for maybe about a month. The downtown area, you don't see multiple crews working because you end up with too many streets closed. So that'll be the challenge next spring. You know, they could bring 50 guys, but we only allow them to close down so much of town at once. So they will still be limited to how much of town can be shut down. So the plan will be to start, in the spring when they come back, just as soon as they can. I mean, that could be freezing temperatures will probably dictate when they can start, as far as having temporary water laid out on the ground. I mean, you can obviously be freezing clear into April, but I hope by mid-April they could be rolling. They'll probably start right here on Idaho Street. Try to get out of downtown, as was the original plan before, as fast as possible to minimize the disruption downtown. So they've got, if they burn through December, getting this transmission main in, they've only got 1 month of contract time left. They cannot do 6 blocks plus a water main installation plus 3 blocks of Idaho Street reconstructed in 1 month. So we're gonna have some discussions here as soon as they get this transmission main in the ground. That's the #1 priority, is get that in, get it tested, and be out of those fields for good. Aside from any minor punch list, clean up stuff next year. So they can focus on Idaho Street and the water distribution replacement next spring. So spring will present some challenges depending on how much rain it gets. Open up the streets, then get a big downpour, saturate, subgrade, and that kind of things. But you just play it by ear and see how it goes next spring. But anyway, overall things are in good shape. It is behind schedule right now. Things are looking good for them being able to make really good progress the next few weeks. There's some statistics in the back as far as where they're at, percent complete. They're 48% of contract time, through the project. They're, about 50% done on the water distribution replacement. But they're only, by the numbers, they're only about 10% done on the transmission pipeline. So, but they've got 2,000 feet in the ground out of 7,800 or so, and they're going to be doing 300-400 plus feet a day. Until they hit a geyser out there, it'll slow them down, but I think it's looking pretty good. Any questions?
Mr. Mayor, so am I understanding correctly from Mr. Johnson that this project was underestimated, or that it's going to take far more time than has been allocated?
Well, I don't know if it's underestimated or understaffed.
Understaffed.
So the estimate on the time was, we've done multiple projects where there are 15,000 plus feet of water main replacement, just like you're doing out here. There's 7,000 here, and we've done those projects in 120 days. So we had 7,000 feet. We kind of planned May, June, July, August for the distribution system improvement. 7,000 feet in 120 days. And then 60 days basically to go do the transmission pipeline, which could not start until basically September. So, October, November was the plan for that. And that was kind of constraints and the easements and whatnot. So I think the time was adequate. As I don't think I would estimate anything differently, but it does warrant having enough staff to get after it. It also warrants starting in May, not August 1st.
Right.
So that's part of the hitch up, has been just getting a late start, hang up on some materials, but I don't think that's been a huge contributor. It's just been mostly just the own contractors' own challenges. So that's where we're at. I don't think we need to give them necessarily more time. It seems like when I was saying to give it, they always exceed it.
So that time, that May, June, and July that you didn't get this year, will that be added on to the back end of the project? Will 3 months be added in there?
Well, when you say added in, that's the time I think it's going to take. I think they need 2 more months. I think that's what it's going to take. They're potentially only going to have a month left of actual official contract time when they come back in the spring. And that's just not being like, they just spent 3 months doing about half of this project. So I'm thinking 3 months. So that's how much extra contract time they would burn trying to get done.
So what it was is the May, June, July, that was when we expected them to start, was May. but we didn't officially turn them on until July 20th,
26th,
28th,
yeah.
26th, something,
Yeah.
okay, 26th. Because they couldn't get the parts and were being nice to not turn the contract on.
Right.
They were allowed to purchase as much as they can to get the parts coming, but we didn't turn the time on until July 26th. And that's when they had 180 days, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
To get it done on July 26th. And we're gonna give them time, not time off, what's the word? We're pausing.
Yeah, when they wrap up the transmission main, we'll do a suspend work order, and then a resume work order in the spring. So that just stops the contract time, from ticking. So their calendar days is how the contract is set up.
So there won't be, it won't be necessary to come back and look at how much money was put aside for this particular project, right?
No, budget-wise, you have already spent budget, should you
And
decide.
yeah, and I do see the change orders.
Yeah, so you're pretty much on budget, at this point. There's gonna be changes like we've always seen, and there'll probably be more nickel and dime items when we start turning up Idaho Street, and, we're gonna have more instances where we got 12 people standing around a hole going, what is that?
Yeah.
Down there, so,
Now, we're still on budget.
yeah,
Okay, and the contract, all we're gonna pay them is the 4 million, whatever, along with the change orders.
Yep.
If there's any more, okay, for that. But we also, the change orders, they've already kind of been put in there under contingency. We have 300, can't remember, there's somewhere around the
Something like that.
$300,000 sitting around to cover change orders. Hope we don't spend it, that means it's less money we gotta worry about,
yeah,
That's for the water line, and the street, Idaho Street, we got like 70, almost 80,000 contingency sitting in there. And I'm hoping that none of that has a change order, who knows?
yeah, so the other part of the contract, so there's price and there's the time. So the way the time works, there's called liquidated damages clause in the contract. So when they start ticking over, they start getting assessed your liquidated damages, and it's $750 a day or $1,000 a day, unless they're given more contract time. So, and if they're given more contract time, your costs are related to our additional oversight, is the cost, plus the soft costs of staff time and whatever else that it requires to get the project done. So it's up to the contractor to request and make a case for more time. That's where it's gonna go. So there is a cost to the city for providing more time, and we need to cross that bridge, in the spring.
If we,
That's where we need to. So that's really up to the contractor. But when I go to administer the contract, I get a pay request in June, and they're 30 days past contract time, we deduct that off the bottom of the pay request. So unless there's an agreement between the city and the contractor to create more contract time. So that's how that'll work, when the time comes, as far as considering whether more contract time will be awarded or not. So,
And that would happen next spring.
yeah. Yeah, they're not gonna run out until like about a month into next spring's work. If they start March 1, by the end of March, they're gonna be out.
Yeah.
Is there any language in the contract time to extend the contract time based on understaffing?
Not really. They sign up to do X amount of work in Y amount of time. So if they've got a compelling reason, they get delayed, you give them more contract time. We've had a couple weather days. When it snowed here, there was a couple days where, you do more harm than good trying to work in it. They asked for the whole week. We'd recommended you give them about 2 days, because Wednesday, Thursday, Friday was really workable. They just didn't have the staff that week to get it done. So it's a change order, essentially is what it is. Allowing a change in price or time is a change order the council would consider to add more time into the contract. So.
But more time into the contract would cost the contractor, not the city.
Well, it'll cost the contractor time, but there's no additional price added to the contract. It would cost the city more money because of our contract, the Dallas contract with the city to administer the contract. That's based on 180 calendar days and X number of working days. So that's where the additional costs would come into the city. So we'll be crossing that bridge June or May, somewhere in there. But it's up to Mungus to make the case and ask for time. Anything else?
Well, thank you, Kevin.
All right, thank you for the good weather.
You'll be back
Keep
again
bringing it.
next month, right?
Yep, we'll be back next month.
First Wednesday meeting.
Yep. I'll probably still be working at that point.
I hope so. Otherwise, it'll be.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, have no mayor's report. Reports of officers and members of the city library board, Mr. McGinley.
I ask you to approve the minutes of the September 28th meeting.
Move to accept.
Second.
Moved by Bill, seconded by Russ, discussion.
Call for the question.
Question's been called for to accept the September 28, 2021 meeting minutes of the library board. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. I take that unanimous.
We had a meeting last month, they discussed the murder mystery. I haven't got any report back how it turned out. I assume what I've heard from the public was a great show.
They sold out, I believe, 120. They had a nice silent auction item of a rifle that went for $1,200. And it was truly a whodunit mystery because there was 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe 5 dead bodies. Yeah, none of us saw it coming, even the actors.
We're all buried in the past. Okay, is that it?
That's it.
Okay, thank you, sir. City Attorney, Mr. Dolan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a brief report tonight. We've got two, one bench trial and one jury trial coming up this month. And I expect to be occupied with that. The city's case against Mr. Stradsky settled last week. All of the documents are not quite inked, so I'm not going to go into the specifics tonight for that reason. But I did want to pass that brief information on to the council because it's important. There's also the matter of the article in the paper today. I have read the charging documents. Those are publicly available. I'm not going to say anything further about that. I think if there's any inquiry that needs to be made, I suppose Judge Minor should be the point person on that. So, that's all I've got.
Any questions?
Mr. Dolan, how are we doing out there on the subdivision by the golf course?
We've exchanged the record. Thank you for asking, Mr. Hand. First of all, we've exchanged the record in the case, and I think that the disclosures with regard to potential expert witnesses the city might wish to engage is due, I believe, sometime mid-month. I don't know the specific date.
Okay, so it's moving ahead.
Yes.
Very good, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir. Planning Board, Mr. Hand.
We haven't had a meeting with minutes. We'll be having one on Thursday night, however.
Okay,
That completes my report.
thank you. Zoning Commission, they must have found a bunch of minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So before you are the minutes of August 24th, September 14th, October 12th, October 15th, and a public hearing of September 28th.
Move to approve. Second. It's been moved by Dan, seconded by Raymond. Discussion.
The minutes are pretty well straightforward as a catch-up. We appreciate those minutes being brought forth. And then surely you have the public hearing, and those results will be coming forward as well.
Is there any special reason those minutes were delayed so much?
I'm a little slow. This was Mr. Hazelbaker speaking.
Okay,
And I used to have Diane take care of me.
okay, because some of that stuff's kind of timely, the council kind of needs to know it sooner than 3 months after the fact, is why I was concerned. Well, if we can speed that process up, that would be wonderful.
I will try.
Thank you.
I will do it. Not try, I will do it.
Thank you.
Call for the question.
Question's been called for to accept August 24, 2021, September 14, 2021, September 28, 2021 public hearing minutes, October 12, 2021 meeting minutes, October 15, 2021 meeting minutes of the zoning commission. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Take that as unanimous.
So truly, the zoning commission is working forward. We're working on the last rezone there on our last area for the year. We're trying to get things wrapped up as we see December 31st fast approaching, and we're just pushing forward as fast as we can to get caught up. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Dolan?
Mr. Schwant, I just wanted to take a moment tonight to look at paragraph C on the August 24th, 2021 zoning commission meetings, and to comment that, especially in light of the resolution of the Skradsky matter, the sentiments contained in that paragraph are incredibly important, and I would request everybody read that again. We are going to have to change the way we do business, and I would be more than happy to work with you, Mr. Schwant, to come up with a directive or something like that, so that we don't end up in this position again. Thank you.
No, I appreciate that, especially those last 3 lines. A lot of us, the intent and the aspiration there, and to do consistently and continuity with the citizens is our biggest challenge, and we do sometimes get overwhelmed. And I think truly having the black and white in front of us so that we always stay on track and in our path will help us out in the future.
Sure.
So thank you for that reinforcement.
Sure.
Education. That concludes the report.
Thank you.
I might mention in here, we're going to be bringing a couple of things in front of the city council here in the next meeting or two. Some of them dealing with October 12th minutes. I think it'd really be good if everybody read the minutes and kind of paid attention, because we have a rezoning coming up that I think we need to really pay attention to. Even though I'm sure we'll hear a bunch of it at our hearing, but still, it pays to see what we're dealing with in here.
Okay. Good to go? Okay. Next item, Director of Operations, Mr. Hazelbaker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Everything's splendid. Happy to answer any questions.
I didn't tell him to be short.
Mr. Mayor, I wonder if the Director of Operations has made a plan to clean the streets as they are getting re-asphalted before the winter comes.
That would have been a good question for them. I thought that this contractor or subcontractor is supposed to do that.
That's what he said at the last meeting, didn't
Mhm.
he?
Yeah.
They would be cleaning up
And
after
so
they got
they're
the
supposed
asphalt
to be
done.
cleaning that up as they go.
And
So,
I noticed some people on Reeder Street sweeping today with brooms plus some machines, so.
Oh, you did see a machine
Yeah.
over there too. Okay, so that's a question that I should direct towards Dow or towards the contractor?
Dow.
Okay.
And Dow is our interface between everybody and the contractor. We're not supposed to go down and talk to the contractor.
Great.
Even I get a hold of the Dow people and tell them to go talk to the contractor.
Great. I will do that. Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
How many people watch the wheels go around?
All the people on the bus.
Wow. Heaven. Which wheel?
Any questions for him? Or additional questions?
Actually, I do have a question. Can you tell us what the status is gonna be on the street signs? Because I know we're still missing a lot.
We are, and it's one of those, they're coming with all the different other projects that you guys have been doing. We're gonna be getting to them once those projects are slowed down because of the weather. That'll give them that opportunity to address some of those. We have the street signs, we just haven't had the chance to put them up, so.
Thank you.
Are they still dealing with a beaver problem down there by the pond?
Yes.
Even further down too.
Yeah, we've had 4 to 5 different beaver dams, the last couple of weeks. And this week we started to trap them.
I just noticed that I've seen the city down there almost every day.
Yeah, every morning we go out and check them. Ones we're mostly concerned about are the ones with the culverts, because they'll catch things and then they'll fill up, and that makes it harder. But the guys every morning are going and checking. Eric Whitlam was nice enough to allow us to get onto his property to take the one that you can see from the interstate. So, as you come into town over the interstate, you can look to the right and see it. And Eric's nice enough to let us go onto his property.
And there is, on the end of Center Street in Pletz Bloom, there's a whole bunch of trees down there that could, if it ices up, it's gonna build up to get bloom again.
Okay.
I noticed that they took some down, the beaver did.
Yeah. There's a herd of them, or whatever the correct term is. Herd of beavers, whatever.
Like a football team, right?
Yeah.
And we gotta watch it, because it seems like every winter we have fun. They build it, it backs up. then
And
it
usually on a
freezes.
holiday.
Yeah, it's always Christmas.
The contractor should hire the beavers.
Okay? Okay, we'll move on. Thank you. Police Department, Chief Caverson.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I don't have a report tonight. I do want to clarify something. I think the city attorney kind of allowed me to segue here on some clarification on the article that was written in the Tribune. I think I'm trying to figure out a way here to explain without overstepping. I think what needs to be clarified in it is that the judge did speak with me at the beginning of this, and we looked into an issue. I saw something maybe wasn't correct, and I thought for transparency purposes, investing for the city, instead of us investigating, we sent it to the Attorney General's office. And there it sat, and and it came out this week, and that's what happened, but it's not an ongoing problem now that I think that we don't have to worry about. And so that's just my way of tiptoeing around the legal issues of making sure that I'm not divulging any information that I shouldn't, is that the judge that contacted me, I sent it for transparency purposes because I didn't think it was probably the best interest for our department to be investigating the whole thing. So the AG's office took it from there. That sound all right, Jim?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's all you wanted to say?
I want to say a lot more, I just can't, but yeah.
No, not on that subject.
No, I know.
Just general terms.
No, we have a couple officers at training, and to go back to that clarification, I just want to make sure no one was concerned about the judge's position or the judge's actions regarding this. I think we're fine, and we shouldn't have to worry about the management of the office at this point. But Joel and Eric are down training in Idaho, and we also have a training in Dillon next month, so we're looking forward to that, to get everybody to some chief training on sovereign citizen stuff, which has become a big issue. And congratulations to all of you that won your elections, and thank you to those that ran and didn't win. I think we're seeing a lot of problems with people not running, so it was nice to see some people running. That's all I got. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions. Sweet. That was easy.
I could say something, but. Fire Chief, BJ Kelsey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's really pretty quiet for this meeting. We are going to have a training out of the National Guard on propane on November 13th. If anybody would want to just come by and drive up and see what's going on. We've invited Grasshopper, Lima, Twin Bridges, might be one other department to come and train with us on that. We've been trying to involve Grasshopper and Lima a little bit more in our trainings because we are doing more mutual aid, automatic aid back and forth with those two departments. So.
That's good.
Are you gonna blow anything up?
We're going to try to not blow it.
No sense in telling them.
After the structure fire.
Things up, please don't take city trucks out there.
After the structure fire up in Grant, we figured that we wanted to do this propane training again because we had a propane tank that was exposed very heavily to flame, and we wanted to. We've done this training about probably 10 years ago, but it was time to do this time again. So. Any questions?
Chief, I know in your report, you were listed an assisting of the police department up on Cornell Street. What was that about?
There was a call for our ladder truck with a youth challenge student who was in dire straits. So it was resolved before we left the hall though, so.
Okay, that's good. I was wondering if I could get you guys law enforcement training too.
No. We appreciate that though.
They don't want to work for a living. They've never lost the foundation.
Right, I'll second that. Same day service.
Very good. Thank you for the explanation.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
City Court's not here. City Treasurer, Ms. Kipp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have in front of you the cash summary report for September 2021, and the bank reconciliations for September 2021, and the collateral report. And I ask for your approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved by Bill, seconded by Russ. Discussion.
Call for the question.
Question's been called for to approve the cash summary report for September 2021, the cash bank reconciliation report for September 2021, and the collateral report for Stockman Bank for the same period. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed say nay. I take that as unanimous. Anything else you want to say? Were there any questions for the chair? Either one? Okay. Okay, and we'll move on. Thank you, Karen. Tree board, I don't see minutes. Do you want to say something? Or Mr.
Well, the tree board met last night. I did not attend, so I don't have anything to say.
Okay,
I don't have a clue.
watching the count, huh?
You know, we're just out partying.
Reports of standing
Ms.
committees.
O'Rourke? One moment, Mr. Mayor. Ms. O'Rourke, would it be all right if I brought you back a couple of leaves from some trees out here in Seattle as possible candidates for trees for the medians?
Oh, please do. And if you can get pictures. Yeah.
The leaves are dropping there, a beautiful bright red. I don't know if they're gonna live in our elevation and atmosphere or not, but I'll bring them back so you have something to at least look at.
Oh, great. There's nothing more I like than a project.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Reports of standing committees of the city council, judiciary, Mr. Nye.
Yes, before you have the minutes of October 18th, ask for your approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved by Bill, seconded by Russ. Discussion?
Didn't judiciary take on the upcoming marijuana stuff?
Well, we took on to look at it. Now, it's in the minutes, yeah, and they decided after discussing with, among themselves and the city attorney, that it's best that he would file a petition. That's what it read, or more like in the law, that the person that wants it or the group of people, they get a petition started. And then it goes to a vote. It can be done, the vote can be done in just citywide, but the city council didn't really, at least reading it, didn't really seem the city council had the power to start the petition. It had to be a person.
Private party. Private party.
A private party.
Doesn't it have to go to the county first, or should it go to county?
You can do it in the city.
Okay.
Okay, I guess my reason for asking you guys to do that was to set up the framework for the taxation of it. So we got some loose framework there to know how to proceed. So if somebody does do a petition, we're not behind the eight ball trying to figure out what to do again. That was the reason for my request that be looked at. Because it is a tax gathering system, that can be something that we don't normally do on a regular basis in our city compared to other cities. So some kind of a procedure or a framework to work in, just to have on the shelf for when it does come around, probably wouldn't be a bad thing.
So, Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question? So the idea is that we're kind of set aside reality and pretend like we had an election and the people of Dillon have not only approved the sale of non-medical marijuana within the city limits, but they've also approved the city to tax it at 3%. And you would like the Judiciary Committee to pretend that that's all happened and then to put together the framework for gathering that 3% tax, correct? Is that what you're asking?
That is correct. That is correct. Now, who's going to collect the tax? Who's going to monitor that it comes in, for example?
County.
No,
Yes.
the state.
No, the county.
The county, but we go
The
to
state
down.
actually monitors.
Favorite county.
It's actually already set up because the minute they allow non-medical marijuana to be sold in Beaver Lake County, there's already a 20% tax on it. And if they vote in the 3% tax, it would be an additional 3% on top of the 20%. And the State Department of Revenue or marijuana, I don't know which, would collect the tax and then they would reimburse the city their part.
Oh.
We
My
hope,
understanding how that works.
because it goes to the general fund,
Right.
how that bill was written hastily. It goes to general fund, so we hope to get the money back.
I don't know about a state department of
Exactly.
marijuana.
Exactly, it's general fund.
But outside of that, I think the issue of the rate of taxation itself is part of that whole petition and initiative process. Because I think, I remember the news, I think the rate of medical marijuana taxation was voted quite low in Missoula, and in Billings it was voted quite high. So I think it kind of reflects the difference in those two jurisdictions. But I think, you know, the question of whether to tax and how much to tax, I think is driven by that petition and initiative process. And only after that takes place would the city be entitled to come up with a framework. I don't necessarily disagree with Mr. Hand that, you know, maybe in some fashion we could be prepared with how we might want to administer the thing, or what we would administer. But I think ultimately the rate of taxation is reserved to the initiative process.
Yeah, the fact that the state's got the Department of Revenue, or whoever, to watch over that and do the initial collection, that was my biggest concern, because that's a foreign animal to the city.
Yeah.
And I have talked to the individual that asked, and he's still going, he's thinking of doing the petition, and he's gonna put in there sale but not growing, and a tax, a 3% tax on the petition.
That would be nice.
So just to better the chance of not having us go out and say no, don't vote for it. So that's what he said. Now I don't know if he started. I told him to go talk to the county, the clerk and recorder, or the election administrator, same person. Talk to them, get whatever paperwork, find out how many signatures you need, get the petition, give it to her. They then have to approve it or do whatever wording you want to say, and then off you go to get signatures. And I also said I'd sign it.
And I believe it's the revenue, the Montana Department of Revenue that administers that tax, if it passes.
I know somebody.
Not the Montana Department of Marijuana.
I don't have, what did they call, they have who takes care of the marijuana stuff?
Oh, I think they
Department of Health and
the
Human
Department of Public
Services.
Health and Human Services had a medical marijuana program, which
Yeah.
was a division of the department, but I don't think there's a separate Department of Marijuana.
Well, who's issuing the licenses?
I believe the Department of Revenue now.
Oh, okay.
I think they transitioned.
See, that's who I thought was taking care of it.
Yeah.
I guess just out of curiosity, you and Kirk, because Billings was actually voting to not allow marijuana in the city. You didn't hear how that come out, did you?
You know, I did, but I can't be,
I know.
my memory is vague, let's put it
Okay.
that way.
That's all I just,
Missoula passed,
Yes.
the 3%, yeah.
yeah.
And when the state one, they were having problems with it. That they're having to turn away everybody because they're volunteering to sample.
I mean, we had a Montana Department of Marijuana, what would the agency seal look like?
Just a puff of smoke just going.
It'd be a good Christmas party.
I think in Missoula too, the reason they set the tax rate on recreational marijuana use so low is they were afraid if it was high, it would drive more than half the population to move out of the city. It ended up costing them money.
They had the ambition to move.
Do we need to adjust our zoning laws to take care of that as well?
No.
I don't believe so until they actually we'll have to study it further because, you know, it used to be that the county was the one that would have to deal with the initiative process to repeal that in counties where it didn't pass, but now they've opened that up to cities as well and towns, and so that might be an ongoing discussion, Mr. Hand, that needs to take place.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Call for the question.
Question has been called for to approve the October 18, 2021 meeting minutes of the judiciary. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. I take it as unanimous. Anything else?
No, I just, that maybe Mr. Dolan, if he has time to be on our next judiciary meeting, we can discuss this further.
Yeah.
So you want me to put it on agenda is
Yeah, well,
to
we're gonna have
discuss.
it on the agenda.
Okay,
Start working on it.
okay, thank you. Finance Committee, Mr. Hand.
No meeting, no report, except for what you saw tonight.
Yep, we have there was a meeting October 28th to approve approve the claims.
He was there.
Correct.
That's true, he was there.
Yes.
He didn't do it.
I wasn't here. I was
I couldn't remember.
So before you is to approve the line item budget report for October 2021, approve the fund summary for claims for October 2021, approve claims for vendor report for October 2021, and approve the budget versus actual report for October 2021.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved by Bill, seconded by Diane. Any further discussion? Any questions on it?
Call for the question.
Questions been called for to approve the line item budget report for October 2021, the fund summary for claims for October 2021, the claims by vendor report for October 2021, and the budget versus actual report for October 2021. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay.
And that concludes our combined report for you.
Well, how about approving the October 28th meeting minutes?
Oh, yeah, bummer, there were so many.
Yeah, it's kind of long, too.
Yeah, I know. So before you is also the Thursday, October 20th, 21st Finance Committee meeting for your approval. It was a big budget, it's a big meeting, you guys.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved by Bill, seconded by Dan. Any discussion on it?
Pretty well straightforward on that meeting, short, sweet, and simple.
Call for the question.
Question's been called for to approve the October 28th, 2021 committee meeting minutes of the Finance Committee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Take that as unanimous.
That officially concludes my joint report.
Thank you. Fire and Order Committee, Mr. Schaefer.
Well, we had a meeting, but no minutes, so no report.
Thank you. Health and Welfare, Mr. McGinley.
No meeting, no report. One scheduled for, I think it's the 18th at 9 o'clock.
The standard one at the standard time. Cemetery Committee.
That meeting time will be November 18th at 9 a.m.
Whatever the third Thursday at 9 a.m. I can't see the,
Yeah.
what's the third Thursday?
18th.
The 18th.
Okay, the 18th of November at 9 a.m.
Just for your information, the judge has a trial from 8 to noon on the 18th. Listed.
We'll go in the back room. I won't be putting it on Zoom though then. This is the only room that can handle Zoom, hate to tell you guys. And if the judge is in here,
The chances of that case settling on the 18th are slim and none. I've already tried to notice it up once for trial. So it's going to trial.
okay,
If it wasn't, I'd gladly cede the room.
okay,
I know we got business to take care of, but I just can't.
and I'll check a couple days before if it seems like the trial is canceled. I will schedule it here with Zoom, otherwise it won't have Zoom. Okay, next item, Cemetery Committee, Ms. Armstrong.
No meeting, no report.
Thank you. Parks Committee, Ms. O'Rourke.
Yes, before you are the minutes of the October 27th meeting for your approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved by Bill, seconded by Russ. Discussion?
Call for the question.
Question's been called for to approve the October 27th, 2021 meeting minutes of the Parks Committee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. I take that as unanimous.
And before you in the packet is a memorandum of understanding from the Community Youth Initiative Advisory Board. And it's concerning J.C. Park. The committee voted on this memorandum of understanding, and it passed with a recommendation for the council to approve it by a vote of 2-1. So it's before you. I had a question that...
Second.
It's been moved by Bill, seconded by Russ. Discussion.
I had a question for our city attorney. Number 1, the 10-year splash pad commitment. And my question was, does this obligate, or in any way contractually or whatever, obligate the city to operate that splash pad for the next 7 years? And I asked that question at the meeting, and Ray Ann Sutton from the Community Youth Initiative said, yes, it does. It requires that the city operate it for 7 years. And my question was, well, what if you know, there are some damages? We have a hailstorm, or we have a windstorm, or something normal that happens in Dillon, and there's $50,000 worth of damage. Does it require us to run that splash pad if there's a tremendous amount of costs that we haven't budgeted? And there's a whole bunch of discussion, and in the end, the discussion revolved around, well, you can come back to the Community Youth Initiative and ask those people for more money to do repairs. But yes, it would require that the city operate the splash pad. And I guess I had wanted that something in there that says something like the city kind of something that said something like the city at its given its approval will operate the splash pad, or at the city's discretion the city will operate the splash pad. I'm worried about that was my concern, about getting the city involved in something that requires us to run something that may have, and there's just some unforeseen things in there.
How I would interpret it is we will provide water, and as long as we don't have a leak, you shouldn't have a problem. Chemicals, that's the standard operation. Labor, that's the part that they funded to, is to have labor to keep it running. And miscellaneous does not cover the whole park being blown up or ripped apart by wind or something. That's not miscellaneous services or materials. Miscellaneous is like what's happened here. The salt generator went out. That would be a miscellaneous in my eyes. If I have to replace the whole splash pad, it's not miscellaneous. That's a major repair, and they use the word major repairs in there. Would be my position. So in the 59 days I have left, if that happens on you'll have to ask the new mayor though, what he would consider miscellaneous.
The only thing I see in here is that the city agrees to spend $4,000 a year of the park's money towards the splash pad.
Well, it's because they're giving us.
Correct, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
But we agree to spend that, so if it's a major repair, we can spend that $4,000 a year over 10 years until it gets fixed.
Yeah.
If that's what it takes. I don't see anything there that says the city has to contribute more money to fix it.
My question is, why do they want to all of a sudden pay us the whole remaining amount and not operate it themselves?
Well, I think the answer to that they would say that the city is operating, does own the splash pad at this time, and does operate it at this time.
Yeah, but it's costing a heck of a lot more than $4,000 a year.
This year, I believe, Todd, please correct was it 8,800?
Yeah, it was 86, but that included, we had a major breakdown.
But what I'm getting
Without
at-
that, it was about 60.
But by the end of the 7 years, we might be paying $12,000 a year, the rate that costs are going.
Next year, we'll pay 12,000 a year.
If you recall, before I wasn't on the council, but I was here when they first brought that, Mr. Stroud brought that point up, that you guys need to remember. They are giving you this splash pad, but it belongs to the city, and ultimately it's your responsibility to fix it, or not fix it. Once the city accepted it on city property, it becomes the city's trouble. Now, the splash pad people said, we will form the Friends of the J.C. Park and we will help you all we can, and I suspect they will help all they can. At some point, it's going to become the city's baby 100%. And that was pretty much said that night when they first brought it. Mr. Stroud kept bringing that up and saying, we need to pay attention before we let them do that. And then, if you recall, the year after we did that, we went to that meeting over in Billings, and what did the guy get up there, the first thing he said, do not, under any circumstance, let a group of people come to your council and volunteer to build you a park. And I said, it's too late. He said, it's a money pit, because it's built on city, it ain't no different than if someone was to give us a brand new bus, say, here's your free bus. All the maintenance, including in that bus, is gonna be paid for by the city.
I understand that, it's just,
Well, the 40,000 is they have money, but they didn't want to hold on to it for the whole 10 years. But they didn't want to just give it to the city, knowing that the city's going to spend it on whatever they want and it won't go to the splash pad. And this is what they came up with, is a memorandum of understanding between the city and them, that they will give us 40,000, we promise you will use 4,000 of that money for every year to keep care of the splash pad, or at least a chunk of it. That's what this all was about. It was a contract that we agree we're going to use the money on the splash pad. And then they're going to give it to us and we'll put it in our bank account. That's what this whole thing was about. Trying to...
And it's a very nice, this is an incredibly nice proposal that these people have brought forward. I guess my concern was just that it obligates the city under, there isn't any circumstance by which we are not obligated to run that splash pad. We could have $1 million worth of damages or potential damages, and we still would be obligated to run that splash pad. So that's why I said, couldn't we just add under number 1, it would be the city, comma, at its discretion, comma, and then go on. So that allows the city some discretion based on budgetary constraints, ability to get parts that might be broken on the splash pad, staffing. I know that staffing is going to be a major issue, not just for Dillon, but for the whole world for the next 4 or 5 years. So it just gives us some leeway, because maybe the splash pad will only be able to operate 3 days a week if there's significant staffing shortages or if budgetary constraints or whatever. That was my only concern. If the city attorney doesn't have any concern, it's all yours, Mr. Dolan.
Well, not that I don't have any concern about it, but I just think that, you know, if the splash pad was the subject of a casualty loss or something that was covered through the city's memorandum of MMIA, I don't think that it can reasonably be argued that the splash pad folks would be happy if we used the $4,000 to not operate something. So, you know, they want it operational, that's why they're reserving the $4,000 to defray the cost of the maintenance. If the thing can't operate, they don't want us to spend the money for something that doesn't work. I don't imagine they'd be that upset about it. That said, I think that, you know, it's entirely possible to put something in there. I think probably under paragraph 4, because it talks about the purpose, and the shared purpose of providing a fully functional, safe and recreational splash pad for the benefit of the youth, the community of Dillon, Montana, and its tourists and visitors. You know, if you wanted to put something in there, some sort of a conditional statement to the effect of, you know, in the event the splash pad cannot be operated within these parameters, the city in its sole discretion may cease operations or temporarily cease operations with the splash pad. I don't have a problem with that, if that makes more sense. I don't know if the Community Youth Initiative Advisory Board would, but ultimately, you want to operate something that's safe. That's what MMIA requires, so I don't see there's any issue with that. I don't know why they would have an issue with that.
So your language would be, in the event of,
After paragraph 4.
okay, after paragraph 4, okay. In the event of unforeseen,
Or in the event unforeseen circumstances should prevent the operation of the splash pad in a functional, safe, and recreational manner. We use those same adjectives there. The city, in its sole discretion, may temporarily cease operations.
cease.
Of the splash pad.
You know, when I read this, the first thing I thought of, governments are notorious. They get a bunch of money. Oh, let's spend it someplace else. This is a protection from these guys giving us money that we're going to spend that money on the splash pad. It's not for anything against the city. You have to do this, that's have to do this. This is a protection for them. They're giving us a $28,000. They don't want us, the city, oh, we got $28,000, let's go do a road and take that money away from the park. It's money they're giving to the city that they want guaranteed is going to go to the splash pad. Whether, you know, if it's not operational, it's going to sit in our bank account.
Like an enterprise fund.
Yeah, it's going to sit there. If it got shut down this year for the next 10 years, we're going to have $28,000 set in the bank. We can't spend that $28,000 unless it goes to the splash pad. This is nothing to get to the city telling us what to do. It's for them to protect their money from the city spending it elsewhere. That's what I got for all of it. You know, it's nothing about the city telling us we have to run that splash pad. It's telling the city you cannot spend this money anywhere else except on the splash pad.
You can only spend it at the rate of $4,000
Yeah.
a year.
And that's true, John. I did ask Rayanne, they had Jill Gannon-Nagel, I think, write up, or maybe it was John Warren, write up this memorandum of understanding. And I asked the question, does this obligate the city to operate the splash pad every year for the next 7 years? And Rayanne stood up and said, yes, it does. So that's why I agree with you that that's the majority of this memorandum of
But she
understanding.
also said that if there was a breakdown, they would help find money for it, and if it had to sit for a year, it would sit for a year.
I don't, yeah. I
And
don't
it's
think-
gifted money, that's what we gotta look at.
And there's restrictions on the gift. So,
$4,000.
if you accept this, that $4,000 per year must be used for the care and maintenance of the splash pad. That's the proviso.
So what we could do actually is put that in a trust fund with a $4,000 limit per year extraction. That way you just gain $2 interest on it every year.
Yeah.
50 cents.
Yeah, we can make a fund set aside just for this.
Well, it'd be something like the cemetery perpetual care fund or
Now, you don't wanna do those things, because then it's a nightmare with the auditors. On the schedule, just set aside some regular old fund account we'll set up. And if we get it on my term, we'll set it up and then the money, it'll be earning interest, that fund, as long as there's money in it, it'll earn interest and be put in there, not that we earn a lot of interest now, you know, but I mean, it's easy to do that, we've done that with a lot of other ones too, just to make everybody feel more comfortable that we're watching out for it.
Yeah, I didn't have any concerns about I mean, I knew that the city would accept the 28,000 and would spend $4,000 a year operating the splash pad. That wasn't, I don't think anybody expressed any concern over that. They knew the city would do that. I guess it was a different concern.
I think we all recognize that splash pad is quite a money pit, and yes, it's gonna be a money pit, it's ours. So we're gonna have to somehow look into ways to fund that some, because the Friends of J.C. Park may not be able to do much, in all honesty.
And I also, if you look at number 1, that's the one that everybody's talking about now. To me, that's a statement. That is not a commitment. It says the city operates and maintains. They're making a statement that we operate and maintain the splash pad. It doesn't say that we have to do this stuff. Besides the 4,000, and even in there, it just says we're gonna, you know, they're gonna pay us 4,000 a year to operate or to help to partially defray the city's expenses. It even doesn't set up that we have to spend 4,000. They're giving us 4,000 a year to use if we do need it. But if it's down and it's not working, the money can just sit in that account until we get it working again. This statement, this whole number 1, does not hook us to anything.
So you think that Rayanne's statement that this does not obligate the city to operate the splash pad was incorrect?
I believe on number 1, if that's what they're using.
Well, I wasn't, she was talking about the whole MOW, or MOU.
And the only thing I can see is number 3 is the city's pledge. And it says, by execution of this instrument, by accepting it, the receipt, we pledge to apply the CYI's contribution at the rate of $4,000 per year to operate, maintain, and pay the cost relating to the use of the splash pad. If the splash pad's not up and running, we don't have to spend it. Because it's not, if the splash pad is not running, there's nothing related to the use of the splash pad. And that's how major, I think, if it's a major repair needed, it ain't gonna be operating. That's me, that's how I would argue.
Well,
Major repair is not maintenance.
And she said that they would fundraise if there was a major repair to get it running in operation.
Well, routine maintenance is things like, if we have a broken,
Right.
a pump goes out of it or something like that, routine maintenance.
Right.
If it's a major repair and they're gonna tear all that up, that's not maintenance.
No.
I mean, that's no different than on this old building, you know? Maintenance on this building would be changing light bulbs, maybe fixing a broken door or something like that, but if it comes down to where we've gotta replace a whole roof or whatever, that's not maintenance, no, that's major construction.
Yeah.
2 different items. But the splash pad is ours. The city took it.
So, Mr. Dolan, do you agree that maybe that was an incorrect statement, that this obligates the city to operate the splash pad for 7 years?
Likely, yeah, I don't think it's all, in my opinion, no, I don't think it's just simply the paragraph 1 is a generalized statement of the purpose for the contract. You know, just talking about the historical background of why we're talking about this in the first place. But I certainly don't have a problem with including that sentence through paragraph 4, just to make clear that, we will do the best we can, but there are certain situations where if we can't provide a healthy experience, that we're not going to be obligated to spend $4,000 because that's not reasonable expenditures of the money. That we have to fix what's broken and then we do it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to make sure that everything was clear on for all parties, on what everybody's responsibilities were, and that the city did not have an unending checkbook. I mean, there has to be some circumstances by which the city could say, ooh, we have to call a timeout here and figure something else out.
So, if you want to change, you gotta make a motion to change it, and you gotta get a second. Otherwise, let's move on for a call for the question. It's up to you guys on how you want to do it. Or we still have some more discussion. It's the committee or council's, not committee, council's decision.
I call for the question.
Okay? Question's been called for to approve the memorandum of understanding with the Community Youth Initiative as presented to the council. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
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 Diane.
Aye.
Russ.
Nay.
Dan.
Nay.
Bill.
Aye.
Raymond.
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Mary Jo.
Nay.
Dawn.
Nay.
Okay, motion failed. Needs 5 with a well, let's choose, it's a tie. So I get to break a tie. Wouldn't you know this, 8 years and I've never had to break a damn tie.
Mr. Mayor.
And now you're making me break a tie.
Mr. Mayor, the Parks Committee would be happy to take this back and write a good one more sentence and bring it to you as a full package.
Okay, I'm not saying I'm signing up to that. So you guys give me a minute or two to think.
Sure.
So while you're thinking with that, if that's the case, would y'all take a look at 3? And I know that water, chemicals, labor, miscellaneous expense, I would really love to see the word professional certification fees or something like that.
Yes,
because
yes.
in order for any of us, rather be a volunteer or that, usually someone has to pay for 2 days training statewide and at least 1 night's lodging and accommodations. And there's only 2 of us right now that are actually legit. We should have at least 4 folks on board. And that is something that if we cannot get that training, because there's training only offered Mr. Hazelbaker twice for the state of Montana a year, on average. And if we miss out on those trainings, folks, we have no way to functionally operate that splash pad. Because we all have to have a certificate in order to do it. And this year, I'm gonna let you know, everyone's certificate is up. There is no one certified for next year. Nobody. We're done.
Mr. Goodcheck's good through 2023.
He did it this year.
No, but it's,
We all did it last year, and it's 2 years. It's a 2-year
well, the
certification.
certificate says 2023, so.
Okay, ours goes till this year, and for Regina and I, we're done.
And with that, I looked at that budget, and it seemed to me it was $350 per person, and that's just for your tuition. But would that be listed as professional training fees?
Yeah. Please.
Yeah, and that is a terribly important part of that. And we thank you for volunteering.
Yeah, 25 to 30 hours, man.
Yeah.
That's good money.
Incredible.
Can I get a donation receipt on that? Tax write-off. Sorry. Always a businessman.
Okay, we'll go. I have options, I can go one way or another, or just say I'm not gonna vote and pass it on again. This time, might as well go out and blaze a fire. Okay, I understand probably why a lot of them are voting nay, because I think some of them, not all of them, but some of them are nervous about signing up, or even just nervous about the splash pad in general. Not that I disagree with that, I've always been nervous, it's of money. Everything around the city's money, that sucks up money to do stuff. Streets, everything. Also, first I gotta make sure, would this be considered a tie? Okay. Just make sure I didn't want to overexceed my bounds. But I don't believe, I think like with what you're asking, that to me would be considered miscellaneous expenses.
Okay,
It's
I just
covered.
asked for it just to be spelled out.
Yeah, well, I
Because if
believe
you're not
it's-
certified, folks, you don't have a splash pad, period.
Right.
And to me, that's not miscellaneous. To me, that is way crucial.
And
Just like having power to make the water run. I mean, if you don't have these folks, whether it be 2 to 3 that are officially certified, yeah, you can send down some of your employees and they can do it. But I hate to be dumb and be the one to turn your asses all in.
Okay, so it would be listed as professional training fees for certification in splash pad operations?
Yes. And that's my only gotcha.
And we handle that already without even any of these things said. So even if I didn't take it from the 4,000, it would be taken out of city money to operate the splash pad anyway under parks. So my vote's gonna be aye, so we're gonna pass the memorandum of understanding.
We're gonna take your next 59 days.
Yeah, Super Soaker's coming in. Go get you some floaties, buddy.
Just don't egg my house, please.
No, we use water balloons. That'll be frozen.
Uh-oh.
In freezing weather, huh?
Anything else on parks?
No.
Thank you. City Hall Committee, Mr. Graham.
Okay, before you, you'll find our minutes of our October 27th, 2021 meeting. I ask for your approval.
Move to approve. Second.
It's been moved by Dan, seconded by Russ. Discussion.
I guess as you can see, we went and toured the Wells Fargo building. There's a possibility of trying to negotiate some kind of a deal if we can buy it, to move the city hall and its offices over there. It was a nice building. You other committee members have anything they want to say about it?
I just was wondering, Raymond, if the committee had brought in an engineer to look over that building. There's lots of talk, especially amongst Wells Fargo employees, about some significant roof leakage and some problems with one of the stairwells, and it goes on and on and on. I just wondered if the City Hall Committee had an engineer look at that building.
Oh, we're a long way from that.
Oh. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, it was actually brought up to, we need to get a set of blueprints for the building, and there's a lot, we just mainly toured it, look at it, and if we spend $1 million on this building update, then we can buy that one for $650,000.
625.
625. So, there's a lot, but there's still a lot of things we need to look at before we go jumping in there feet first and buying a building.
And then I was just informed too that they don't have blueprints for this building.
We don't have blueprints for it.
So we need to hire somebody to go in and draw out a floor plan, and I think I kind of agree with Mary Jo that we should have an engineer inspect the building before we jump into it.
Yeah.
And also that they're only holding, if you bid on it, that it's only a 30 days that they'll hold the bid, and after that, they're collecting more bids.
Well,
I was told that November 20-something, that they'll collect bids from everybody, and then on November whatever, 22nd,
22nd, I think, yeah.
you know, they're gonna open them all and take one. If they see one that meets them, they'll take it.
I think it's a great opportunity, but we just don't have the time to do what we need to do to make a rational decision as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it would be great to be able to move over there, then we wouldn't have problems with interfering with courts, because we'd be doing our stuff over there, we could do the court here, or, and the water department still could use all this stuff back here. Or,
Chief would have office back here.
that's true. And there's a lot of advantages to buying that building, but there's a lot of disadvantages too. If we buy that building, we not only have one building to maintain, we have two.
Yeah.
And this building is, you know, I don't know what realistically what would cost to maintain this building, but that one over there will be just as much, even if all you do is count the bare necessities, power and lights, heat.
and then also the loss of the tax
Right.
revenue from
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, no, I think if there's truly a time limit by November, whatever, I think we're just wasting our time even trying, because there's no way we can be ready to, you know, unless we wanted to put you know, it'd have to be a pretty cheap price into it, you know.
And I have, was assigned the duty to do, to have, talk to McIsaac to see if he could talk to Wells Fargo and approach them with saying that the city will give them a tax, or sell it to the city cheaper with a tax write-off of whatever the remaining amount is. You know, that kind of thing. So I was gonna go talk to him tomorrow and see if he can get hold of them before then. I mean, truthfully, the building, even unless it's ready to fall down, I mean, if you can get it for 300 and they'll give you a 325 tax write-off. I mean, to me, that might be worth
It'd be worth
buying
the
even
gamble
now.
for that.
But don't know any of the, we haven't even talked to him, so we don't think we're gonna get that, but, no. McIsaac's way better at talking stuff like that than I am.
Now, do realize too that they can put conditions on the purchase, that it has to pass an engineer's inspection, for example. Or else we can get out of the buy sell as well. So there's some protections in there for the city as well.
Well, I'm just saying, we need to be careful that what we're looking at here, don't want to jump into
I agree.
something that we can't get out of.
Yeah.
I think everybody that
Right.
looked at the building thought that'd be a great idea to do it. We just didn't, we don't want to jump in head first and not know what we're jumping into. I think that's,
Mr.
I just had a few comments, and I did go along on the tour, and, you know, that building was purposely built, appears to be a financial institution. I think a lot of the considerations that go into designing a building for a financial institution do translate well to use as a municipal building. I did notice maybe two areas that looked like there was some minor water leakage. I'm no expert on that, but it didn't appear to be major. I do want to say that. But that said, there's a lot of potential there in terms of usable space. I think the lobby could be reconfigured to have a fairly I'll just say cavernous city council chambers if one wanted. There's another room in the back that was I think it was labeled a board room that could be used for committee meetings, I think, very, very readily. The only caveat I could see would be There may have to be some way to engineer some inside office space or something like that. I don't know, there was 4 offices on the back, but none of them have outdoor windows. And there's one up front, which I assume will probably be the mayor's office since it looks out on Montana Street. But other than that, I mean, I think I do remember seeing the boiler system had been replaced. And those boilers appeared to be new. That's not necessarily a bad thing. There was even an apartment upstairs that had not been rented. I think there's a lot of potential. But I do agree with those here that have expressed, should proceed with some caution. But I didn't want to put my 2 cents worth in, because I do think one of the things that city staff needs more of is space. I really do believe that. And I think that would help us a lot. We wouldn't have these conflicts of use of rooms and things like that. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents worth. So.
Any further discussion? We're on the approval of minutes.
Yeah. Call for
Please call for the
question.
questions been called for to approve the minutes for the October 27, 2021 meeting of the City Hall Committee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All that disapprove say nay.
But saying all that, if the mayor does talk with Mr. McIsaac and get some kind of negotiating something set up or something or other, we can always call another city hall committee and make a recommendation and have a special council meeting and make something happen if
it looks promising.
If it looks promising.
Yeah.
I would encourage us not to drag our feet on it.
Yes. Well.
Yeah, I think we should continue to look into
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I don't like the idea if we're forced on a certain time limit.
Yeah, I don't mean, that's a pretty big building for.
And I agree with John, or Mr. Dolan, I felt that it was, you got a new boiler system in there, you got, there's a lot of potential in that building.
Yes.
Especially on the main floor.
Yeah.
And even though it doesn't have an elevator, we wouldn't need the elevator, because we could do pretty much everything on the main floor.
Mr. Swant, did you tour that building as well?
No, sir, I did not.
Okay, the cadastro shows 3 apartments upstairs, not just 1, that's why I was curious.
I think there is 3, but I believe 1 was only rented at the time. Because I looked into it for another party.
It only appeared like 1 was habitable.
Yes.
And
It
the
was
other 2
laid out, but it's never been
Yeah.
finished.
Yeah.
Much like the stuff above the moose and everything else down there, it's never been
Yeah, we never
operable.
seen anything.
Well, and it looked to me,
But there was
because
2
where they have
places.
that raised ceiling, that may have been where those apartments were, but since they put that raised ceiling in, they've eliminated that
Yeah.
area.
And there was 2 doors that we could not get through
Yeah.
because she didn't have keys, and that might be.
And we found somebody came in that actually worked down there, and they said what those 2 doors are is there's a walkway around the open area, kind of for security. You can walk around and look down everywhere,
Mhm.
in case you need to, and that's what those 2 doors. They don't want it open to let people just walk in and take pot shots or whatever, and people working there.
Ooh.
Correct, is that not? Karen worked there for a little while.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I don't think those doors were there then because it had another, like a false ceiling. It wasn't open there where you could walk around
Right.
because it was filled in, whatever, sod at the top. But yeah,
We'd have to be a
the only
thing.
one that was ever inhabited apartment was that one.
Right.
The one towards the front.
Yeah.
Well, if we buy the building, I get first dibs on the word Fargo in the old Wells Fargo.
Okay. Street and Alley Committee, Don, Dan.
Before you have the minutes for October 12th. Ask for your approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved by Bill, seconded by Russ. Discussion.
As you can see, we're still working on the load limits. We'll be looking at that again on the next meeting.
Call for the question.
Question's been called for to approve the street and alley committee meeting for October 12th, 2021. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. I take it as unanimous. Anything else?
That'd be it.
Water and sewer committee, Mr. Hammond.
I don't know if we have a meeting or not.
Nope, but we're planning on next Tuesday.
So before you are the minutes from October 12th, 2021 for your acceptance?
Move to approve.
Second.
So basically, before you was pretty a short, simple meeting. Mr. Miller came in and told us about the changes and the evolution that's going to be taking place at the Dillon Animal Shelter. Amen. A lot of those buildings do need to be updated. So that is the blessing. That's the attachments that you see there. It's nice to see that that whole group is taking it to the next level. And that was basically the meeting in a nutshell.
Call for the question.
Question's been called for to approve the water and sewer committee meeting for October 12th, 2021. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So basically, water and sewer is continuing to work on the EDUs, and that concludes that report.
Thank you, Russ.
Thank you, sir.
ARPA committee. John, I think he was voted to be.
Yeah, he was.
Have the minutes of the October 18th meeting. Ask for your approval.
Move to accept.
Second.
Yeah.
Bill made a motion, Dan second. Discussion.
One quick thing, if I may. On page 2, fire department, line 5, where it starts difficult to obtain replacement parts. Under the new NAFTA standards, no, this has nothing to do with the North American Food Trading Agreement. This is NFPA, National Fire Protection Association.
NFPA?
NFPA, yes.
Good catch.
Good catch.
That's so 1990.
I think we forgot about that.
Call for the question.
Question's been called for to approve the ARPA committee meeting minutes for October 18th, 2021. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Take that as unanimous.
We had a meeting Monday. So you'll see we have a special council meeting for tomorrow. We approved a couple payments of the ARPA money for the full council to come see tomorrow.
Tomorrow at 2.
Tomorrow at 2.
Thank you.
And our next meeting is the, I can't remember, 16th or something like that.
It's the 10th.
The 10th? Or something like that.
I thought it was November 10th at 6 o'clock.
Yeah. November 10th at 6 o'clock for our next meeting.
Okay, public comment on items of significant public interest not on the agenda within the jurisdiction of the city.
Mr. Grant, just a group of beavers is called the colony.
Thank you, Tammy.
I think you call it a group of zombies.
That's a baby.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
It's moved by Bill, seconded by Russ to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Meeting adjourned.